Hello everyone, can you believe we've reached our 5th multi-make? I hope you're really enjoying this series of videos. I can tell by the albums in the Facebook group, in Papercrafting with Paul on Facebook, that a lot of you are doing them each month as well, which I'm really enjoying. So if you haven't seen a monthly multi-make before, the idea came with people saying that they found digital crafting expensive or they're printing off lots. So it's just a way of making multiple cards using very limited supplies. But of course, it doesn't have to be a digital kit. If you've got some extra scrapbook papers and things, you can follow these sketches as well. Each month I produce the PDF as well with written instructions and a diagram with all the measurements. Now, if you do want a copy of this, you will have to join me on Facebook. Join Papercrafting with Paul. There are two ways. You can just open Facebook and type in Papercrafting with Paul and the group will come up, or there'll be a link in the description below for you to click and it should take you there. Once you're in there, you head to the file section and you can download this PDF. And as always, I've created a generic themed one and the Christmas one. Now again, it's a 5x7 card, and the reason for that is that all of them are 5x7, so you can buy a big batch of 5x7 envelopes and all the cards will fit into them each time. So if you're making your multi-makes each month, especially if they're Christmas ones, by Christmas time you'll have loads of handmade cards ready to go in whatever colour you want, because you can choose your card base, but they'll all fit into the same envelope, making it quite cost effective. So the cards are cost effective and the items you need will be cost effective as well. So for this month, my general one are just some cards made for dog lovers using one of my favourite kits. It's called Woof. Oh no, sorry, this one's called Pawsitivity. Woof is a different one. This one's called Pawsitivity, so there's two dog kits knit to it. But I think I've actually used the Woof papers, but with the Pawsitivity toppers. So they've mixed and matched there. And then my Christmas one this time was really quick and simple. You'll see in the video, because my toppers were square ones, excellent for batch making for Christmas. It's from the Gnome For Christmas kits. Fantastic florals, funny images, but also if you're not into the gnomes, still plenty in this kit to keep you going. So, if you want to make these cards, head over to the group, get your PDF if you'd like to have your paper copy with you, or just grab your cardstock and some papers and some toppers, and let's get crafting. So I've got everything now ready to start my cards. This is the copy of the PDF, which I've downloaded now from Papercrafting with Paul on Facebook. So if you're not a member of that group yet, just click on the link below. It'll take you to the Facebook group, or just in the search bar on Facebook, type in Papercrafting with Paul, and you can print this off and keep it with all the others, and they're just easy reference guides then. It says to choose 2 pieces of patterned paper. Now with the multi-makes, as you know if you've already done some in the past, it's the way of reducing ink usage and stuff, which people get worried about. Oh, is it going to cost me a lot in ink? It's a way of saving your ink and your photo paper and things like that. So it's reducing the costs. So rather than printing out 2 full sheets, in the photo options, you can print off 2, I think it's, 13 by 18 photos. So instead of using photos, you're just using your papers instead. So exactly the same way. So you choose 2 and print them up on the same paper. So I like to go for 1 patterned, 1 plain. But when I say plain, it's not really plain, because knit to always add some sort of texture to them. And this time, we're looking at 3 toppers, and I said about 2 inches tall. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact, but roughly 2 inches. So I've just printed off some of the Gnome For Christmas toppers, each at just 2 inches tall. Just resize them to 2 inches, and that'll give us a nice even space. And obviously we need some cardstock for our base, so it can be any colour you want. You could go for some green, some red, but I'm going for black to pull out the sentiment. And plus I like black anyway. So let's start off with our card blanks. So I've got 2 sheets here, 'cause obviously the multi-make, we're multi-making, so I've got 2. Now if you printed off another sheet with 2 other background papers, you'd obviously end up with 4, and you could really mix them all up. But just for speed, we stick to just the 2. So I'm going to cut both of them at the same time, I think. So we're going to make our 5x7 card blank. So as you know, all of them so far, this year will be 5x7 cards, so that we're only buying 5x7 envelopes. Yeah, so we're just buying that 1 pack of envelopes, which will suit all the cards we've done throughout the year. So I have cut both of them at the same time, which is a bit naughty, just to save some time. And then it says to score at 5 inches. Okay. 5 inches and 5 inches. And because I'm using black cardstock, I'm just going to use my Teflon tool, which I got from Cool Cats Crafts, because this Teflon tool doesn't leave those shiny silvery marks on black cardstock, which you sometimes get with your more plastic bone folders. Plus it's a lot stronger too. So there's my 2 card blanks, which I can put aside for now. So step 2. Choose 2 pieces of patterned paper, so that's why we print the 2 onto 1, and cut each to 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now we've done this step every time in the multi-make so far, because this now is just a 1/4 of an inch smaller than our card fronts. So our card front was 5, so I'm going back to 4 3/4. And the height of this, I should have said, was 7 inches as our card base, so I've gone back to 6 3/4. But it's all in our PDF, so don't worry about remembering all these measurements. You can just refer to this. And I've got the measurements in the instructions and on the diagram as well, just to make it easier. Okay, now step 3. Cut a vertical strip down the left-hand side of each patterned paper at 2 inches. Now, I've got to be careful because this one is fine. There's no direction to it. This one has text. Oh, it's upside down. So I want the text correctly. So I'm going to cut it at 2 inches. So you can just cut like this, but because it overhangs, especially if you're cutting small, thinner strips, I tend to do it upside down and work away to the 2 inches. And then I've got a much straighter edge because I've got more contact with the top of my trimmer. So that's why I've turned it upside down. Let me just double check before I cut it. Yep, 2 inches. So that grey bit there is going to be 2 inches. 2 inches. Turn it back around. And this one, 2 inches. And as usual, an optional step, but one I recommend, is taking some ink. So I use the Distress ink in black soot because I've got a black card base. But I'm going to show you in a bit why I ink my edges. Go. So even if you're not going to use the gnomes, you can see how fantastic these papers are. And in the kit, there's plenty of other images. There's floral images and things like that. And the knitwear kits really are full of lots of paper choices and sentiments and everything. I think you'll always find something in a kit that you can use. I think I've even used sympathy kit before to make birthday cards. So it doesn't have to be what they say they are. I've also used the Christmas critter ones before, and not a critter in sight. I think that was in one of the first multi-makes. And just using the big sentiment ones. Right, so I've just inked the edge. I said I was going to show you why I ink the edges. If I have a look at my toppers, actually I can ink them at the same time. Now, probably won't see as well here because they're white, but let's have a look at the Woof topper. If you haven't cut it exact, by inking, you're actually going to hide your fussy cutting and also create some shadow as well. And you're going to hide the raw edge of your cardstock or your paper. So there's one. Now, because I'm making a multi-make, I do actually need 6 of these, so I'm going to do them really quickly. Actually, what if I do one now, and I'll show you near the end why we ink. I'll do one with and one without. Okay, so those are my 3 inked. Those are my 3 uninked. So that's one reason. So we do get that shadow and hiding our fussy cutting if it's not accurate. But also, this is my Woof one, which I'll be finishing off in a bit. If you have a look, there's a little gap between the papers there. But on the bottom, they're actually touching. So they're touching here, a bit of a gap. So there's a bit of a V shape here, just from my trimming, not being perfect. But because we've got that black line, well, it wasn't black here, I actually used pumice stone because I wanted a grayer one. It's sort of hiding a little bit of our cutting. So if you're not a perfect cutter, inking the edges really does help. So I was able to overlap here and just about join there, but you can't tell. So that's the reason that I ink up. Okay, so I've got inked ones there, uninked ones there. So let's go back to our multi-make sheet. So we've cut the vertical strips down the left-hand side. Now we're going to swap the left-hand vertical strips on each piece to create a new layout. And we're going to glue these in the new formation onto the card blanks. Let's bring back the card blanks, and as I do every month, I'm just going to open them up just so they lie flatter. And I'm just going to place them here. So if you want to leave a little gap, you can, or because we've inked, we'll just have them touching. So let's do some glue. So not too much, because we don't want our card and paper warping. If you find you've got lots of waves in your paper, either using paper which is just too thin or using too much glue. And then I'm taking my Teflon tool again, my multi-tool, and when I do this, I'm pressing it down onto the cardstock, but also underneath the glue is spreading out a little bit more. And my score line's there, so I'm using that as a guide as well, butting it up against there. So I think I've overlapped it a tiny bit there. So that's the joy of the inking. And again, with the other one. And still amazes me, even though we're into the 5th month of doing this, how different it looks just by creating these card blanks by swapping over one strip. You get a totally different feel. So although we're doing the same thing on both cards, just by changing the papers over, they can look totally different. There we go. So same cards, same papers, yet totally different feel just by having more pattern here and less pattern there. I said I was going to show the difference between uninked and inked. So there's my inked one. Take him off. And that's my uninked one. I might need a little bit more on this one. I think I might have done it a little bit too fast earlier. Let's bring it in a little bit more. Of course, you could just mount these onto black cardstock, but again, we're adding to the cost and bulk then. And the idea of these multi-makes is being able to make the most out of very limited supplies. Right, so let's have a look now if you can see. That one looks as if it's got a matten layer. This one then, not so much. So we're going to need to do the other 3 for my left-hand side card. And one more. Thought I'd lost it then, but it was already on the card. Excellent, there we go. Okay, so let's have these 3 for this card and these 3 for the left-hand card. So now it says to create 3 top elements, each approximately 2 inches tall, which I've already done and covered. And now attach your toppers and add any extra embellishments you wish. So I'm actually going to use my ruler here, but you can do it by eye. Now my toppers are 2 inches tall. Now I could foam tape them, but of course, if you're talking about Christmas and the cost of posting lots of them, you can make your multi-makes flat. So I've just put some foam tape behind this one. And our card is 7 inches tall. So the middle, oh, that's not that one I want the sentiment in the middle. So let's put some foam tape on the sentiment one. There we go. Our card is 7 inches tall, so the middle is 3.5. So I want this, because it's 2 inches tall, between 2.5 and 4.5. So I'm putting this one in the middle, and then the other 2 I'm just going to put by eye then, just lining up both sides. So I've mounted all 3 of them this time onto the foam tape on this card. And because we've already got that sentiment there, that one is finished. Of course, you could add some gems or something here now, add any extra embellishments as you wish, but as usual, I'm just going to keep the multi-make just the basics for now, and you can then take it as far as you want. Now this one we could stick the middle flat and raise top and bottom, or I think I'm going to raise the centre. The sentiment is going to stand proud. So again, I'm going to bring this in. So I can go between the 2.5 and the 4.5. And this time I'm going to go further left. So I'm going further left because I've got all this decorative one here, which I want to keep on show. So this time, we're going to stick them flat. So I'm just add some glue behind. And again, I'm keeping it bare bones. Your job now will be to go through and add your extra embellishments. So there we go, our Christmas versions of our multi-make number 5. But because I wanted to show you how that inking fixed my issue, I haven't actually finished my Woof ones. So let's bring those in. And I've got, this time, instead of 3 squares for both, I've got some circular ones. So I haven't inked them yet. So as I said, I've got pumice stone this time, purely because I didn't want black, it would have been too harsh, and I've got all these greys here. And you can see, because it's a circle, my cutting isn't perfect. I don't mind, because this ink is going to add a shadow, so it's like a border, and hide those raw edges. And let's do these while I'm here. So I like these are like little Polaroids, and if you're looking for the kit for these, you won't actually find this exact topper. What I've done is had the Polaroid, placed then a background and sent it behind, and then put the dog, resized the dog to fit inside, and then sent that behind the Polaroid. So the background paper is at the bottom, and then your dog is in the middle, and your Polaroid on top. So the final one. So just as I did with the other ones, I'm going to bring in my ruler, and I'm actually going to glue all of them flat this time. So I'm going to go between 2.5 and 4.5, or just centralize it. If it's not 2 inches exactly with you, just sort of centralize it there. Oh, actually didn't want him in the middle. I wanted this one because I had 1 cream and 2 blues. I was lucky the glue hadn't stuck. So let's bring it back in between the 2.5 and the 4.5. And now I'm not going to worry about measuring it this time. I'm just going to eyeball it. A bit of glue on the edge. There we go. And the same with the circle. Is there any pattern? No. So let's go for blue in the middle then. So again, I want to centralize it, but I haven't got a square this time. So what I do with circles is, I'm going to put my ruler up against the edge, and 3.5 will be the middle. So as long as my circle is touching the 3.5, the edge of it is touching 3.5, I can glue it down. And let's put him. So I'm just bringing it to touch my ruler again. And in the background there's like vertical stripes, so that's what I'm using if you can see me rotating them. that's why. So there we go. So we've got our 3 going down. And as I said, add any extra embellishment. So this time I'm going to add just a nice little sentiment. So these are literally just printed off the kit as well. I haven't had to do any work with the circle one or the sentiments. So this time let's add some foam tape. And on the back of this one, it's a little bit longer, so I may just cut a little bit more. There we go. So let's see which ones these are going to go on to. I'm going to put that one there. Or is this one going to go here? And together can go on this one. There we go. And in this kit, you've got lots of little things like buttons with paws in it, and things which you can just cut out, like I've done in one of my previous ones. Just use a hole punch then, a circle punch them out rather than cutting them. You could put more little gems or something just to finish it off. But again, keeping it simple. Once again, so multi-make number 5 done. Again, if you want to grab hold of this PDF, that's all you need to do is join my Facebook group, Papercrafting with Paul. You can either search for it on Facebook, or there's a link in the description below. If you have enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button for me. And I can't wait to see your versions. So if you're already a member of Papercrafting with Paul, you'll find an album in the Facebook group where you can drop your versions, drop photos of your cards for us all to see as well. So again, this was Woof by from Knitwit, and this one was Gnome For Christmas. Again, links to those 2 kits will be in the description below. So thanks for watching, and I can't wait to hear what you think of them. So write some comments below and see your versions being shared with me as well. So thanks a lot, and see you all again soon.